And rolling live. Hey, podcast listening people. Today I want to talk with you about how to scale your sales conversations in Q4 and beyond. Specifically, if you're in a technical B2B or sell, products, services B2B, as in business to business, then this is definitely the video for you. And, I'm one of the biggest issues with B2B sales, lots of decision makers, lots of time involved, lots of complexities that go in to getting a deal done. And the challenge is, how do you scale your sales conversations to bring more business in the door? Because at the end of the day, whether you sell to your entire client base, your market base is 500 potential customers or 50,000 potential customers, the more conversations that you have and the more relationships that you build and the more you're able to get people talking to, individuals in your company, ultimately the more business you're going to do. By the way, I want to remind you, these recordings, when I do these live on video, right now we're live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I think we're actually even live on Twitter. Make sure you're following me if you're not already. My name's Connor Doobie, Chief Marketing Officer at Proven Content, founder, Doobie Enterprises, B2B Mentors Podcast, marketing advisor. And this is my favorite thing in the world to do, is just pop on here when I get a chance to go live, whether we're doing an event, just doing these kind of on a whim. But if you want access to not only these kinds of videos, but also the content I'm going to share with you, you can find the audio version on all your favorite podcast apps. So make sure you check that out. But let's talk about scaling your sales conversations, because it's a challenge for every business out there. And one major thing that many companies out there do, whether you're small, whether you're large, you're in the $1 billion range, you're in the $10 million range, the $5 million range, is you understand intuitively, I need to have more conversations with my prospects. But what are you doing to get more at-bats with those conversations, to get more people coming in the door? Well, one area is, that a lot of people do is just, I'm going to hire more salespeople, right? I'm going to bring more salespeople in the door. And the more salespeople I hire, the more sales conversations I'm going to have. And that's not necessarily the truth, especially in the world we live in today, where, and if you even intuitively think about your own buying habits, even if you're buying something off of Amazon or you're buying a product or service for your own business, or a solution or service provider for your own business, you're doing lots of research. B2B sales, there's a lot of education that has to go in. And I find too many sales teams, marketers, founders, CEOs are trying to scale their conversation and having to educate their prospects so deeply every time they go into a new sales scenario. And they're doing it one-to-one, right? So the question is, how do you scale those conversations from one-to-one to one-to-many? How do you scale those conversations without me physically actually having to be in the room with my prospects, with my clients, and not having to also add a ton more overhead by just bringing in a ton of salespeople to have those conversations? Because one, you're probably finding, and if this is resonating with you, that, man, my sales cycles are really long. And a lot of the industries I talk to, they're kind of in that old mentality, that old mindset of, well, this is just how business is done, right? I have a conversation, I talk to them, I meet with them, I teach them everything that there is to be there is all about my business. But here's the other challenge of that too, is human beings only retain a very limited, finite amount of information. And I used to find this out too, just even in our own business and our own sales, is we had we have proposals, and so, we'd go through a proposal, and it had, the basic stuff on there to be able to, get a deal done, to bring a new business in as a client. And I would spend, God, 60 minutes, hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours a lot of the time educating and having to teach all the different nuances, dynamics, and areas in which why we're unique, why we're the best option to go to, right? So that's one example. Now, how do we fix that? And what actually turned that around for us in our own experience is content. Content, which can come in many different forms. You have kind of your static, set forms of educational content. Like, for example, you go to our website, there's a whole section on our website that says, why us, right? Why us, which is what every single person trying to sell something is trying to relay to that prospect on the other end, is why do this with us versus any other potential option out there? Well, instead of just telling people, we put an asset together and a piece of content which taught and was there as a static, as a set thing embedded into our proposal. So we no longer have to verbally try to iterate these things. And those prospects were able to educate themselves. Whereas now 30% or 30 minutes of that time versus a couple hours, several hours, is spent more answering questions and providing guidance and consultation versus trying to teach every little thing that has to do with, again, why the heck would you do this with us versus anybody else out there? So content is key. And I want to talk about some of the formatting here and what you can do with that, but content is really key to scaling those conversations. It's not adding more bodies. It's not adding more salespeople. It is going to eventually have the opposite effect. And I've seen this time and time again. A lot of business owners banging their head against the wall. Why aren't we growing? I have 50 freaking salespeople on my team, and all my budget, everything is going towards hiring, but none of it is going towards branding and content and educating people. So static content is one example. You can leverage that in your proposals, leverage that in your sales conversations. You're having one-to-one conversations. Prospect asks you a great question. Instead of sitting there spending all your valuable time and energy trying to explain these things, well, hey, let me send you a video. I have a 2-minute video. We just published it the other day, or an article. It's a great question, and I'll get this over to you. And this is actually help answer your question a bit more in depth. So that's one area. Now, the other is publicly. Again, people are doing a lot of research. And believe it or not, they're looking at you, and every buyer is in power nowadays. They have access to unlimited amounts of information. They have access to way more of your competitors than ever before. Me, especially, we're in this, digital agency PR realm. There's seemingly a lot of competition out there. But what separates us is they can't do this, right? I am unique. And the way I'm going to communicate things and explain things is unique. So right now, I guarantee you there's people watching either live now, after the fact. This is the same for your business. They're kind of in that stage of like, man, we really need a content solution. We're not getting our blogs done, our newsletters, our press releases, our LinkedIn content. It's just not getting done. Our team doesn't have the time for it. We've tried freelancers, we've tried vendors, so on. So I'm going to try to find someone. Oh, here's interesting. Connor Dubie with proven content. Okay, fine. Let's take a look at what he does. So they're kind of in that buying cycle, right? Well, what are they also doing? They're going to Google. They're looking for other vendors. They're going to LinkedIn. They're looking at other vendors that are seemingly competitors. But what they're going to find is our team is going to put way more valuable information out there for free to teach them all the ways we're the thought leaders, the subject matter experts, why we are the best of the best to be able to work with, and why we do it in a way that's unique, that's going to save you time, It's going to save you money, and it's going to give you a much bigger impact on the other side. And we're doing that all through content. Now, we're not just doing this, and I'm not just doing this once a day, once a week, once a month, once a quarter. Consistency is key, because at any given time, someone could be in various different cycles of that, various different buying cycles. Same goes for your prospects, for those who are interested in working with you. And you have to make sure you're showing up. And you're showing up in a way that is diverse. And again, this conversation, the things I'm teaching right now, I could be trying to sway one single prospect with this in a one-to-one conversation, which I'm going to be doing anyways, but I'm also streaming this on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. We're going to package it up, send it to our email list. The video is going to go up on our website. And now we've scaled that to hundreds and thousands of conversations from one single conversation. So this truly is in, Q4, especially going into 2023. I know a lot of you, there's a lot of late adopters out there when it comes to content marketing. It's no longer a question as to, does my business work like this? We're old school, we're industrial, we're manufacturing, we're biotech, we're SaaS, we're medical, staffing, you name it. There's no longer a question of, back in the day when people were like, well, this content marketing thing, it's kind of a fad. It's going to go away. I'm going to keep doing my business. Your competitors are going to quickly outmarket you, out-communicate with you. In the stats show, and go do any research, that the company that shows up first, they continue to show up, they continue to add value throughout that buying cycle in those conversations that are being had, whether it's in person or online, is going to win the business. And so how do you get yourself out there? Podcasts, videos, articles, visual graphic content, highlighting your authority, your credibility through press releases. You're being featured in media and in the news. And if this is overwhelming you, well, the first thing you need to do is understand, what is the one channel, right? Just pick one channel. For you, it's probably LinkedIn. If, we're being honest, because you're B2B, LinkedIn's where your market's at. LinkedIn, probably your email list, which is made up of clients, prospects, event attendees you've built relationships with. That is where you start. So find one channel first off, and then find one medium of content that you can do consistently. Maybe it's writing. Maybe you're able to pull that off in-house or freelancers or with an agency like ours, right? Find the one channel and the one type of content. Get that consistent. Get that working. But ultimately, down the road, the way you want to get yourself into a position is putting multiple kinds of media assets out there, because everyone self-educates differently. Some people prefer to read, watch, listen. Psychologically, you really want to have all of those, but the net zero of zero is zero. So the first step to really scaling those conversations, first identify, where the heck are we going to be putting this content? What's the one style of content that we can start and stay with? Most people, they get a month in, 3 months in, and it's just like this, right? Consistency is absolutely key, especially since we're in the noisiest, busiest, most distracted time ever when it comes to being in business, which makes it that much more important to show up regularly, and show up unique. This is also where PR plays a major role and a major complement in, one, being your own best media company, your own business, but also other extended parties who are saying great things about you, who are featuring you, who are publishing you, and also your clients. Don't forget, once we start, one of the major things we constantly get asked back in the day is, I want to do a referral call with one of your clients. Make sure you guys are legit, all this stuff, all fine and dandy. Obviously, it takes a lot of time, and it kind of throws a bottleneck into that sales cycle. Once we started adding some of these assets into our proposals. And if you ever see a proposal of ours, we have 10, 15, maybe not 15, but probably 12 different endorsements, and not just written endorsements, generic, anyone can make up, but video stories of our clients talking about their experience working with us. What were they experiencing before? What problems were they having? What was that resulting in? And, what were their hesitations in maybe bringing our team in to support them in content? And, what the results have been after the fact. So do you have this, right? Do you have these assets put together, and not only just publicly, but also leveraging throughout your sales cycle? Are your salespeople using them? Are your marketing team using them? Anyone who's having prospect facing conversations, is this being utilized and leveraged to shorten your sales cycles and truly scaling out your sales conversations, right? So as you can tell, I love this stuff. Please do me a tiny favor. If this brought you any value, minimally, just like this video. I see you guys watching it. Like it. Share this would be super helpful. If you want the audio to any videos I've done, interviews, speaking engagements, podcasts, go to B2B Mentors on all your favorite podcast apps. You can find the audio there. And by the way, if you're also still kind of like, where do I get started with this? What do I do? Well, I have a free gift for you. And you don't even need to give me your email address or anything to get access to it. If you go to provencontent.com/free, I have free content courses, B2B specific for technical industries, on how to either get started, how to grow your content marketing, or how to scale it. So there's beginner, there's medium, there's advanced courses, and they're free. You don't need to pay for them. You don't need to give me anything, not even your email address. You just go to provencontent.com/free. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Much love to you, my friends. Hope you have an amazing rest of your Marketing Mentors Monday. And we're going to wrap this up. I'll see you guys on the other side.